Hi, family. I am back. I'm Keeney to all of those who are new to the channel. Today, I'm bringing you another little unknown Black history fact, and I want to ask you, did you know? Did you know about Mr. Benjamin Banneker? And I'm sure some of you may have heard of Benjamin Banneker, but the majority of us don't know anything about Benjamin Banneker. And Benjamin Banneker is responsible for the design of our nation's capital, Washington D.C. And he saved he saved this design so it wouldn't be a disaster because it was not going well until he came in. He is also responsible for another uh, book that we did not know about, the almanac. If any of you have grandparents or parents that used the almanac, they used to use the almanac to plant their gardens by. I don't see many people using the almanac now, but most older people, they use the almanac. So let's get into talking about Mr. Benjamin Banneker. For many people in the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. was originally designed by famous white architects Pierre Charles L'Enfant and then completed by Andrew Elliott after the former left the project in 1792. Only a few know that, but for the meticulous memory and surveying work of a black man, Benjamin Banneker, an accomplished mathematician, scholar, and astronomer, Washington, D.C. would not be what it is today. And being a part of the surveying team for the project, Banneker, a free black man in the nation, was still practicing slavery, used his skills to debunk the theory that blacks were an inferior race. Born November 9, 1731 in Baltimore County, Maryland, to Robert and Mary Banneker, his mother was half African and half British. His father was an emancipated slave. Growing up as one of the only 200 free African Americans among 13,000 whites and 4,000 slaves in Baltimore County, Banneker's formal education at a mixed-race Quaker schoolhouse ended at an early age, but through the help of his grandmother, he learned to read and soon gained interest in mathematics and mechanics and would perform expert experiments and calculations on his own. At the age of 27, Banneker's father passed away, and he had to run the family farm with his mother and sisters, but this did not stop him from pursuing his studies. According to Elizabeth Ross Haynes, Banneker found time to study all the books which he could borrow and became well informed in science and humanities. He would later begin solving complex mathematical problems sent to him by scholars and would gain fame for building a working clock almost entirely out of wood that kept perfect time for 40 years until it was destroyed in a fire. In 1772, Banneker was hired by a neighboring family, the Ellicotts, to assist with the construction of a mill. With the close relationship he built with the family, Banneker was able to receive from them astronomical tools, texts that allowed him to pursue his interests and to begin work on an almanac, as well as predicting a solar eclipse almost exactly in 1789. Out of that affiliation with the Ellicotts, Banneker got the chance to be on the team of designers for the U.S. Capitol after he was asked by a son of the Ellicotts, Andrew, to work with him on the project. The project was surveying the land along the Potomac River for what would soon be the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Historians state that Banneker's main role in surveying the new capital was to make astronomical observations to determine the starting point for the survey and to also use his calculations to establish the boundary points for the district. He would later make an unexpected contribution and would save the project from what would have been a disaster. Already there had been so much debate about the location and shape of the new capital, and it was during the period that Pierre Charles L'Enfant, who volunteered the service in the American Revolution's Continental Army, was hired for the project by George Washington in 1791. After the permanent site for the capital was agreed on, L'Enfant, who was now the lead architect, developed a grand design for the Capitol. He later became difficult to work with, always raising issues with the superiors as to how the project should progress, and after reportedly overstepping his mandate in budgetary and design issues, he was dismissed by Washington in 1792. When he left, he took all the designs with him, creating confusion for Endicott and other planners as to how to proceed with the project. And that is where Banneker's memory came in handy. Banneker surprised them with when he asserted that he could reproduce the plans from memory, and in 2 days he did exactly as he had promised. A writer, Gaius Chamberlain, was quoted by Boundary Stones, a site about local history in Washington, D.C. Banneker was essentially able to reproduce the complete layout, streets, parks, major buildings, said the University of Massachusetts, though some historians have disputed this, saying that Banneker's role in the projects was embellished, as it was Andrew and his brother Benjamin who redrew the plans. These arguments can go on, but there is no denying the fact that Banneker played a significant role in the project and got recognition for that in the scores of schools, streets, business parks, and awards that have been named after him. Now, they say that there's a Benjamin Banneker Park and Memorial in Washington, D.C., and at Baltimore, Maryland's Benjamin Banneker Historical Park and Museum. There are also community centers named after him. So, tell me, guys, what do you think? What do you think about Benjamin Banneker being the one to save the design of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C.? You know, his photogenic, graphic memory saved them, and they, didn't have to try to redesign the city again. So, did you know anything about Benjamin Banneker? And also, remember, he is the one that is responsible for putting out the almanac, and the almanac, I think, comes out, I think it used to come out every year. I'm not sure now. I remember reading the almanac as a kid, but I don't get to see it very much. So if you live in a town or a small town or a town where they have these old-fashioned drugstores, that's where I mainly see them at, and I only get to see those when I go home. But back to Mr. Banneker, responsible for the almanac, was said to have made the first clock out of wood, and it was destroyed by fire, and it worked for 40 years, and saved the design of our nation's capital. So tell me what you think down below. Please don't forget, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and as I always say, if you don't think I'm telling you something right, please do your research. Come back, let me know. Until then, guys, bye.